We have the Innovation Showcase, where companies demonstrate their novel products and services and how they are changing existing operational processes as well. Innovation is vital for a company's survival and growth. I'm sure everybody knows that. Firms that don't innovate fall behind their competitors and ultimately go out of business. However, traditional forms of innovation may result in profitable products, services, and processes, but also harm employees or create environmental damage. So what we have to ensure is that this does not happen. Think of the capsule coffee machines that we have at our home, which let us have cafe quality coffee at home. All of the US, I think 40% of the people in US have it at their places. But what happens is that they're actually very popular, yeah. But as a result of that, every minute, 29,000 plastic capsules are dumped in landfill sites. So it's really innovative, helps us, but is damaging environment. So sustainable innovation basically seeks to address those unintended social as well as environmental impacts. It implies that companies can provide products and services that are good for themselves and for society in the long term. Sustainable innovation it's about making intentional changes to a company's products, services, and processes to create long-term societal and environmental benefits. Obviously, despite how wonderful all of this sounds, it's not easy, and achieving it takes time, commitment, and a ton of effort. So how can firms innovate sustainably? Sustainable innovation can be put in three broad categories. One is operational optimization, second is organizational transformation, and the third is systems building. For any of these questions on this topic, please find me. I'm running around here all the time, or Armin Gold, who is manning our Sustainable Environmental Working Group table, and now Dr. Ingrid, who would set the stage for the companies to come and present. Thank you.
But yes, I was about to thank Gerard for his dedication, resilience, passion, hard work. I know it takes a lot of effort, and also Kathy and Priya and the whole organizing committee, also our board, who has been very active over the last few weeks. As you all know, startups are the fabric of the economy, and after spending 20 years just dedicated to science and technology, I realized that actually dedicating myself towards helping startups is the perfect culmination, because they're like the core and the DNA of driving the economy, in my opinion. So this afternoon, we have the pleasure of showcasing a few of the startups. And then also you'll have the opportunity to witness a few demos. So I think you'll enjoy it very much, because I think they illustrate the fact that blockchain is a powerful catalyst for the economy, and you'll see how beautiful the startups cover almost every industry. And that has been something that we've emphasized for the past decade, that blockchain is, and not only blockchain, but ledger technologies, can be a conduit to really transform, reshape, recalibrate almost every industry. So please enjoy the startups, support them. We also have an amazing panel of judges. Two of them are here with us today, Professor Jim Liu and Silvio Pupocasco. Please come on the stage to support our startups. And then also virtually, please allow me to introduce some of our judges that could not be here today, but they're with us, totally passionate, dedicated, ready to support the startups and score them at the end, so that hopefully this afternoon at the end of our program, we'll be announcing our winner. So please allow me to also introduce, in addition to the two judges that are here today, our honorary judge, Professor Dr. Nasim Naqvi, then Dr. Michael Millery, Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar, Radhika Iyengar, Linda Getz, and Brad Yasser. Thank you so much for all the judges. I know that they're all very busy. They've been dedicating their time to help us organize this, and as I mentioned, they'll also be contributing to the success of our startups. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our first startup, Mr. James Sullivan, please.
Well, Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much, Ingrid. How do we turn the presentation on here so the audience can see it, or? Oh, okay, we got it. That was it. Okay, well, welcome. I'll be short, and that's hard for me. My name is Jim Sullivan, and I am with the Blockchain Academy. And next. It's advancing here locally, but okay. Maybe just a little kick. And although this is it, my whole presentation. I told you I'd be short. Sure. We are here. What we do is our, I guess you could call our raison d'etre. Part of it is to address the shortfall or the deficit in the Web3 and blockchain, the workforce. So we have globally scalable products, educational products for just that, for knowledge transfer, for the skills transfer, to fill that gap for our Web3 and blockchain workforce. We cover we cover verticals. We cover verticals. Number one, we cover industry verticals. We also cover business and technical. And so great. So this was going to be my agenda, just our introduction, our team, talk about our product line and our strategy for domination, our educational products, crypto trading product, our CRED, DApp, NFT credentialing product that we hope to roll live possibly this year, and why we will prosper. So this is what I was starting to talk about here. So we cover with our educational products. Again, we look to address that deficit in the blockchain and Web3 workforce. Industry specific, so lawyers, doctors, accountants. So blockchain, stacks of blockchain educational courses there. Synchronous and asynchronous, because we want to be globally scalable. If you are any of our potential investors out there, we are just as scalable as any other software application that's out there. We also developer products and also business and project management. So our elevator pitch, because we always should have an elevator pitch, delivering scalable educational products to address those deficits in Web3 and blockchain, and also using our own expertise to build world-class Web3 and blockchain products. Here's some of our team. So Ryan Williams is our CEO and Executive Director, and then Ryan Krasuski is our Operations Executive. My name's Jim, I'm the CTO and one of the instructors, and we have other staff as well. We are all both Ryans are very experienced with partnering with universities. That's one of our prime markets, are extensions of universities where we are able to essentially white label our products and market with them so learners can address and fill their educational needs through university extensions. One of our strategies to dominate the industry. So we are just now launching a Hedera training class, Hedera Hashgraph. And for right now, that certification, we are the only ones that are delivering that certification. And very soon, in fact, I'm working on it right now with Ryan, we'll be launching Algorand, included with a certification. So Learners can come, learn about both Hedera and Algorand, earn a credential, which will be an NFT and can be customizable. We do have an extensive pipe, and one of the networks, one of the protocols in our pipe is NEAR. Just to validate our credibility, we did publish a book late last year, Programming in Solidity. It's on Amazon, so it's direct Kindle publishing. Please go out. It gives you step-by-step examples for building smart contracts and dApps. And we also have our GitHub repository and videos as well, so please go out. A little bit about how our educational products, we can see them right there. So asynchronous, infinitely scalable, globally deliverable, cloud-based labs. So we can see, we actually delivered this yesterday where we use cloud-based labs that can be accessed through a browser. So hands-on is taken care of right there. Again, we template a lab, scale it up, run it on the Amazon cloud, and anybody is able to, even if they're watching, even if they're partaking in a synchronous, they're able to get the hands-on. It's not just somebody on YouTube telling you what to do and hoping you can set the environment up correctly to actually complete it. So the environment's already set, it's all turnkey, and learners are able to go out there and complete the hands-on. Some of our products, we did want to roll this product. That's a vaccine, that's a blockchain-based vaccine card. That's actually my vaccine card right there. There's very little barrier to entry in the mobile, at least in mobile, for items like this. So we didn't roll this because in 30 days, Apple or Google could obviously beat us to market, but it's an educational product. And it's pretty straightforward. That is the mobile edition right there, we see. Another one of our products is the crypto trading simulator. So this is a simulator. So learn to invest crypto before you start investing dollars. And there are web and mobile versions. So this is live. It runs on a live feed. And you can see the prices. This is a product that's already being used. We have had competitions for it, and it's gotten great reviews. And we will be launching the mobile version. You can kind of see a little prototype of the mobile version there on the right. And another product that we are getting ready, we have it, we're building the initial MVP. We're calling it Cred App right now. So it's NFT credentialing. So we mix it with the web type of architecture, so you have all of the advantages of a web application as far as validation and common usage. We have the links, but then we also connect with the APIs and it's modular. So we're starting it off on Hedera because we have that relationship with Hedera, but it will be modular. So we can create NFTs on Hedera, we can create NFTs on NEAR, Algorand, Ethereum. So and then those NFTs will be brought back also to the web application, so you can just very easily click on the link, open it up, and so it's a mix. It's almost like a hybrid of a web application with a blockchain layer. You can see, okay, and you can see part of it there. So you can see the NFT being brought in. You can see the little the image. So just to sum up, we are globally scalable. We have great blockchain-based educational and those other blockchain products. We're looking to bring Web3 and blockchain to the developing world as well, because there's lots of needs there. We are true experts in what we're doing, so we're not out looking for partners that we hope will be able to do what we need them to do. We look to deliver handsome returns to our investors, and of course, we want to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And now Mr. Kazi Ali, who has... Yeah, they were supposed to... But they has a healthcare product. Sorry? Yeah, you were supposed to have all that ready. Yes. Okay. He's gonna bring his. We're not gonna do because there was no to have. Don't forget, all of you, you were given a template. Please don't forget to mention how much money you are raising. This is essential. You're doing a startup pitch.
So the issue,
And please be ready with your laptop. No worries, take it. Remember, you can also do your pitch without slides if you want.
okay, so how do I connect this?
Can the team come and maybe help him? Just make sure that we have everything ready for him. Thank you. Why don't you start saying your name, say the name of your company, you know it, just.
Yes, hi. My name is Kazi Ali. Oh. Actually, this is. My name is Kazi Ali. I'm the founder of behealth.io. It's a blockchain electronic health. Yeah. And I have a CTO, and unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but I will do the presentation.
Why don't you start saying what the vision and the mission? Don't worry about the slides until they come so that you can.
So the vision of this product is to give user control their own medical records, and also to enhance security as well as provide intelligence. And I believe it's time to for the users to control their own EMR. And I'll give you my personal experience. My parents, I had to take them from doctor to doctor or hospital to hospital, and anytime we would go to a place, we would have to fill out documentations, and unfortunately, that was a lot of time consuming. Okay, so it's consistently filling out paperwork, which is exhausting, and that's what made me focus on this vision, because I believe that they can just fill out documentation once and they can share their own medical records with any doctor of their choice from their own home. And so the problems that I see are widespread cyber attacks on healthcare companies, skyrocketing costs for billing, insurance, and RCM functions, and data are not transparent between users and healthcare staff. Okay. So the solution is leveraging latest technology, which is blockchain and AI, to enhance security, optimal compliance and transparency due to immutable records, and maximize the outcome to improve collaboration, where users will be collaborating with their primary care physicians from their own home. And any activity happens, for instance, booking their own doctor appointments, or even uploading their chest x-rays. There's a demo that I would like to present, but everything will be recorded, historically recorded, and there will be a traceability. So they don't have to go from and ask entities to get their medical records. They will have everything in their own portal. So there are some of the competitors that's working on something similar, but using different technology. My technology, what I did is connected blockchain and AI, and for immutable records and intelligence. Patient will have the capability to access their medical record and collaborate with doctors. Privacy will be secured to biometric. The proposition is, the vision is patient centricity company. We aim to offer rapid, convenient access to medical record, and optimal privacy. B, Health.io provides solutions to address current flaws, for instance, efficiency, duplication, redundancy, errors, lack of patient centricity. The competitive advantage that we have is to enhance security, one-tab record sharing functionality, easily access, immutable and tamper-proof records. The records cannot be changed. Anytime an activity happens on a blockchain, it will create another block and pointing to the previous block, but that would be a little bit technical to explain. Cashless payments and improve online experience. The business model will be hosted on a cloud. License is proprietary. It will be a subscription, many-to-many, and business-to-business, as well as business-to-consumer. And the team is just me and CTO. I'm looking for other strategic partnership as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Any quick questions from the judges? It took him a little long. Any?
Yes, so my background is I have information system degree from Strayer. I started in back in the days, it was A+, then Network Plus. So I'm like all over the place, but currently right now what I'm doing is I'm a cloud architect for an organization, and I'm also trying to raise capital for this product to have this product in the market. And I believe that this product will be needed globally. I've done extensive research on this, including writing a white paper to show the cost and how much the United States spend on healthcare. And
so as an entrepreneur, how much are you trying to raise, and how much of the company are you going to give away to potential investors? And we might have some questions on the Zoom too.
Yes, so I'm asking for 2 million, but that's a converter note.
On a convertible note.
On the convertible note. But I think I need more than 2 million, but because I need strategic partnership. Well, I need it for technology infrastructure as well as software development teams, and then I know this is going to go to the Congress because now I'm taking the records from entities and giving it to you.
Okay, one more question. Super interesting, same issue with my own parents and myself even, with all the different doctors and specialists I got to go to. How do you make it easy for someone to integrate? The doctor uses one system. In my case, my general doctor uses one system. University of Miami uses another system. The hospital uses another system.
Correct.
What are you doing to move closer towards really either my iPhone to use my Apple Health to be able to have my EMR or something else? You know, how do we bridge that gap on integration?
So that's a really good question. I know that a lot of organizations control data because that's their asset. My vision is to, I think it's better for the user to control their own medical record because, like I said, going from doctor to doctor, it's tedious and time consuming, and it's just, you know, you're sitting there for hours and they don't even have your record. So instead, you come to my portal, fill out the documentation once, and then you select a doctor based on the symptoms you're looking for. And then you have an AI algorithm where the doctor or the user can upload their chest x-rays, and what will happen is that it will provide you multiple images from that original image, and it will also tell you whether, for instance, you have pneumonia, you don't have pneumonia, and that will be also recorded within the blockchain technology. Yeah. You're welcome.
We have one from the online judges.
For the online question, online audience, somebody want to ask a question? From the top man of the stage in the media booth? Jordan? Yeah, do you have a mic up there to ask a question?
Let's not do it because it's not going to fit any ever. So let's skip questions.
All right, we'll defer questions from the virtual. If you guys just send it to Dr. Ingrid, she'll ask. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
We would like to introduce Jennifer Louden, and then right after we'll have Mr. Michael Millery if he can be ready.
Fantastic. So much. My monstrous laptop. Thankfully, I bought a paper copy just in case this goes sideways. And sounds good. There we go. All right. So, as Ingrid mentioned, my name is Jennifer Louden, and I am a water nerd. My company is Intelligent Water Services, and I have a question for everybody. When was the last time you thought to yourself, there has to be a better way of doing this? Putting together IKEA furniture, staying awake at a conference after lunch. What about running a public utility? So, IWS is developing a platform to solve the cybersecurity threat and data mismanagement crisis for critical infrastructure systems. We want to create a truly smart utility to be part of a smart and sustainable community. What we're doing now just isn't working. We have all of this information coming in. We're putting out sensors, we're generating data, yay! We're also drowning in a sea of data that we don't know what to do with. So trying to have all of this information, that leads to lots of problems. The biggest of which is data mismanagement leading to cybersecurity vulnerabilities. So sensors collect all of this information and display it on whatever sort of proprietary dashboard the sensor vendor was able to rope the utility into purchasing. And the data is housed usually only on an on-site server. This is pretty much because of cybersecurity concerns. We all kind of have horrible flashbacks to February of 2021 when Oldsmar, Florida made headlines for all the wrong reasons. So once that information is there, it's sent to a supervisory control and data acquisition, or SCADA system, it's a software, to turn into actual usable information, from raw data into information that utility managers can actually do something with. So due to cybersecurity concerns again, that information is also only available on site. So it's weird. 50 years after supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA first came on the scene, we haven't really moved past the duh. It's been 50 years. We have this full functionality. We have this amazing idea that we're not able to actually take control of because of cybersecurity concerns. So for the utility, the information is very solid, very siloed. And unfortunately, people often within the same utility don't have access to that same information, so they're not even on the same page. Never mind people trying to work remotely, people trying to access multiple facilities from the same spot. It just doesn't work. So those utilities that do try to increase access to that data often pay the cybersecurity price. And that's the key. That's where we really, really have to improve things. So I don't believe utilities should have to choose between cybersecurity and ease of access and convenience for their data. So how do we fill two needs with one deed? I hate the phrase two birds with one stone because it's just morbid and depressing, so I actually did a Google search for synonyms, and that's one of the things that came out. I love it. What if we reimagine the base layer? of that SCADA, put it on a blockchain and smart contract-based platform. This way we can streamline the information, get it to who needs it, when they need it, in real time, and use smart contracts to be able to interact with the utility itself. So we're making the utility more efficient, as well as taking advantage of the inherent cybersecurity properties that we all know and love that a blockchain platform can provide. So we are able to truly have secure monitoring and control of a utility from anywhere at any time. To my knowledge, there are currently no direct competitors. However, there are a fair amount of companies on the periphery. And those companies are working in a piece match style. They're doing okay for now. It's funny, I was at an industry water conference yesterday. Actually, it's also down here in DC. And there were all of these industrial automation vendors selling their proprietary dashboards. It's like, oh, my dashboard's better than your dashboard. Okay, great. But all of them failed to recognize the fundamental flaw in how we do things. They were all trying to out-gimmick each other. That doesn't solve the critical problem. You know, what are we doing here? So, what I'm working on is taking all of those bits and pieces, putting them together, and creating something that is going to be an all-inclusive solution. Companies in the industry are not going to respond to folks that are only working on blockchain. They're not going to respond to folks that are working on industrial automation and completely ignoring the elephant in the room. So, the all-inclusive solution, we're from the industry. This was born out of a problem that we actually experienced. What we do is giving utilities a way to access their data securely by anyone who needs it from anywhere without changing their operations. Water utilities, wastewater utilities, operators, the folks who actually run the place do not like change. If we can keep their front end, if we can keep what they see the same, but reimagine what we put that on, if we can put that on a blockchain-based system, we'll be able to harness all of the benefits without anything going wonky in their minds. So we offer a process as a service. This model spreads out the financial risk, which is good for everybody. But it also reduces the staffing requirements at the utility while giving them greater access to information. It also accelerates their ROI, which is something that utilities are starting to get interested in. We're always forced to do more with less. IWS benefits by reaching more customers and getting more continuous revenue than what would be available if we just kind of made a widget and sold it once. I am Nick Fury. I have assembled the utility Avengers. We are all experts in our field. There are some water folks, there are some tech folks, there are some software development folks, but we're coming together because we all truly believe in the IWS mission. I've somehow managed to convince them that I know what I'm doing. And it's something that we're excited for. We want to see the utility of the future. So our work culture revolves around harnessing our individual strengths, about candid communication from the C-suite level all the way down through our interns. I got so excited when we had our first couple of interns last year. And also design thinking. We're continuously iterating, we're continuously learning, and we're trying to deliver a real solution to the utility cybersecurity problem. And on that note, I think I've exceeded 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Super interesting. What kind of utilities are you aiming to start with this right now? Is it energy, water, and what's your pipeline looking? Where are you with these conversations? What I understand from selling to the utilities is, A, don't change anything like you mentioned. B, is they don't like buying from startups. Too risky. C, you need to pilot something. And D, the life cycle for sales is over a year long because you need to put yourself into a budget for the next year. How do
Accurate
you
on all counts.
could you address some of these points?
Yeah, so I kind of first started, again, I'm from the wastewater industry. I've been lab rat at a utility for 13 years. And it was over that time that I myself started saying, oh my God, there has to be a better way of doing this. We're great at treating physical flow, both water and wastewater. We suck at the flow of data. There's no sugarcoating that. And we realize it, we know it. So being able to start at water and wastewater, that's where the heart of this is. However, like I said, it's actually applicable to all critical infrastructure utilities. You know, oil and gas, nuclear, industrial manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, anything that uses a SCADA or some other type of industrial control system, this is applicable for, and this can streamline those same processes, those same inefficiencies that nobody's really tackling. So that would be the beachhead. I actually already have, because I'm in the industry and I tend to kind of talk my mouth off at conferences like this, I already have a utility that has volunteered to be my proof of concept site. I just need the funding to do it. Like I said, I have gathered the Avengers, I just need a way to pay them. So I have a utility that is offered to do the proof of concept, and that's local in New Jersey for just easy access. And then I have 5 other utilities from all across the country that have volunteered to be the beta testers once I actually have a provable MVP. So getting around all of those hurdles that you mentioned that are entirely accurate, I like to say we move at half the speed of smell in our industry. Getting around all of those, it goes back to the reason why, wrong direction. It goes back to the reason why all of those competitors don't work, because nobody in the industry, no utility is going to buy from, Oracle or even IBM. If they say, here, we've created this awesome thing, you have to use it, and they're jamming it down utilities' throats. They're like, no. Similarly, utilities and industrial automation, VT SCADA, Aviva, I'm down here doing double conferences at the few doors down, and I was having a conversation with somebody from ABB just yesterday, and we were talking about what they're working on. I'm like, that's great, and I introduced myself, and the guy was like, oh, nice to meet you. I'm like, you may not think that when I tell you what I'm working on, because what I'm working on is making what you're working on obsolete.
Okay, so I have one question for you, because you have this stage, and this is probably going to be streamed across the world. What's your ask?
From the virtual judges.
Okay, so because we are in R&D and everybody in here knows that anything involving blockchain development is not cheap, we are looking for 250 to 500,000. Just to get that proof of concept. Again, utilities do not have their own funds, so I need to be able to bring them a cheap or free opportunity, and I already have a utility that has greenlit that. I just need to get the money.
Okay, we have also a lot of questions from the virtual judges, so you're attracting a lot of interest here. One is, how is your pricing model? And then 2, how are you going to, from a technical perspective, ingest all the data from all the utilities?
Okay, I'm going to go with the pricing model first because that's the easier question. Again, water nerd, so I'm learning. I've been in blockchain for a whole 3 years. I've been learning a lot of this just kind of as I go. Yeah, well, so if I may take 30 seconds to say how I got into blockchain. Back in the summer of 2018, I was fortunate enough to be picked for a United Nations Sustainable Development Goals program. Went to Singapore for a few weeks. It was absolutely fantastic. I was chosen for SDG 6, Water and Sanitation for All. And one of the speakers during the opening session had said, just a joke that I didn't get at the time. Oh, blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Too bad nobody actually knows what it is. And everybody around me kind of started chuckling, and I'm like, I'm a biologist. So I had no idea what they were talking about. By the end of the SDG program, I knew what it was. I had heard about it actually in international shipping and supply chain management logistics. I was like, oh, that is cool. So since then, I've been kind of learning everything as I go, and that's how, it first started just with water quality, and then I started learning about the cybersecurity benefits. Then once Oldsmar happened, I was like, there has to be a better way of doing this. Can we take that and apply it to cybersecurity? So the way that I'm attempting to to adjust for the, I'm sorry, what was the question? The second question?
Model.
The
And
pricing
second
model,
one
yes.
is how you're going to absorb the data, because a
Yes.
lot of proprietary protocols are in place.
Yes.
But keep it brief, because we have
Yep.
other.
Sorry. I said I talk a lot at these things. So because I'm in the utility space, because I've been able to get utilities on board, I know the difference between a capital expenditure budget limit and an operating expenditure budget limit. That's part of the reason why I have it as a thing as a service. Right, so there's process as a service, data as a service, anything as a service is going to fly right under that limit between CapEx and OpEx. So operating expenditures, facilities are all about spending, they're okay with that, they need to spend that every year. Capital expenditures, that's the kind of thing where they need to take out a loan and increase their rates. So my model is going to be keeping the initial implementation price under that CapEx line, and then with like a recurring subscription fee just to have their nodes remain connected to the blockchain platform. Right. And adjusting for the data, that is something that I had my interns kind of working on cracking through one of the proprietary sensor vendors' data. It was for research. They were earning college credit, and they happened to be able to turn it into just a CSV file. I was like, score! Because once we get it in CSV, we can do whatever we want with it.
Great, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Michael Mazer, next. And right after Mr. Michael Mazer, we'll have Dr. Ann Ingraham be ready, okay? Great.
Hello, everyone. Let's see if this works.
Can't take that.
Yes. Wonderful. So, hello, everyone. My name is Michael Mazur. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Kolu and one of the core contributors to the Urban Change Protocol, which is this. Now, what is our purpose? Our purpose is to drive social and economic prosperity in urban communities using decentralized urban coins. And, you know, what's the problem? We always get asked. And one of the main problems we see today, and actually just to segue into my background, I've been working with local governments for the past almost 8 years now, both in the mobility space and then also in the, right now, local coin space. And what we always see, or I've seen in the past 7 years, is that cities are unable to get people to take action, right? You have Facebook, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, and ultimately when you think of how are cities communicating with the residents, how are they getting people to look and focus on hyper-local economies, it's a challenge, right? The algorithms of Facebook and Twitter don't necessarily convey the information that cities want to convey. And as we sort of come out of the pandemic, we're seeing that people are spending more time at home, and people may not be working 5 days a week out of the main city. Maybe they're only spending 40 to 60% of their time there. So how do we also get people connected in their community and get them to really have a sense of ownership there? And what's our solution, and what have we been working on for the past, actually now, couple of years, and really starting to launch now? It's ultimately getting residents to be active stakeholders in their community by creating a two-coin model. Why a two-coin model? Kolu, in its history, actually created one of the first cryptocurrency projects with cities about 4 or 5 years ago, and it didn't work. Why? Because we had city coins where the value of the coin would fluctuate so much so that one day you were buying a coffee and one coin equaled $1. The next day, that same coin was maybe $3, and it was just not sustainable from both a merchant and a user perspective. 4 years later, we switched back to fiat in the past 4 years. We've been working with cities like Boston, San Mateo County, and Akron, and now we've developed this two-coin model. And why is it helpful? Number one, we have a stablecoin. That's one coin that you'll be able to use at local businesses in your city. You'll be able to earn it for taking different actions that promote the goals of the city, which we'll talk about in a second. It could be for doing things like walking 10,000 steps per day. It could be doing things like voting or coming to City Hall or volunteering in your city. Once you earn these local coins, which again are stable, so worth in the US $1, €1, whatever country you are, you'll then be able to redeem them and use them at local businesses in your city. When you use them at local businesses in your city, you will earn impact coins. And here's how it works. So, like I was saying, let's say I go now, I live in New York. Let's say one of the goals of the city of New York is to get people to walk more or ride their bike. If I ride my bike a certain amount of miles per day, I'll then be eligible to earn these local coins. If I take other actions too, we always talk about equity and diversity, right? That's a big, big thing in cities. And if we can encourage people to do things that help promote communities that are disadvantaged, such as maybe going to volunteer, maybe for shopping at a minority or women-owned business, right, in different neighborhoods, and they can earn coins for doing that, that can make a big impact. So we'll take action to earn these local coins, and I'll earn my New York coin or my Akron coin. When I pay with that Akron coin at a local business, I'm stimulating my local economy, and then I'm going to be earning the impact coin. The impact coin, unlike the local coin, which is stable, is a volatile coin, which the value of it is based on supply and demand. And the cool thing is that each city has its own impact coin. By holding it, you have a sense of ownership in your city. You'll subconsciously also be more inclined to take actions that promote your park, right? Think about it in the way like, all right, I'm online, I have this whole world at my resources, and I have the whole world, but what about the park that's near my apartment, right? What about the school? What about my local businesses? So by owning these impact coins, you ultimately will have a sense of ownership in your city. Plus, because obviously their value will go up and down, the more people take actions to support their community, the value will go up. But on the flip side, there's utility. And what does that mean? By holding an impact coin for your city, you'll also unlock benefits that are unique to your city. Maybe it's reduced fees for parking. Maybe it's access to a specific hall or event. Maybe it's just being able to come into specific places. Whatever the city decides, by owning or holding that coin, that impact coin, you'll have that. Now we talk about equity, and I'll mention that because that's a big, big part of what we're doing. First of all, the ecosystem. So we're building this on Algorand. There are other communities and other elements going on here when it comes to city coins and city currency. I'm sure y'all have heard of city coins. I won't go into detail, but there isn't really a mechanism just like ours that is actually in cities. We partner with local governments for doing so. So what's different about us, and I'll do this quickly because I don't have too much time. We're a carbon negative blockchain. We chose to work with Algorand because unlike a lot of other blockchains, they are carbon negative. We obviously think about sustainability. We are using a unique dual coin cryptocurrency model, which I mentioned. We work directly with local governments and organizations. But most importantly, we talk about equity and why. We always talk about the digital divide, and people, the blockchain on one hand is amazing, and people talked about this earlier. But on the other hand, how do we make sure that people have access, right, to blockchain? How can we help communities if people don't even have the digital literacy or the financial literacy to be able to know what you do? For example, if you hold these impact coins, one day they're worth $1, suddenly they're worth $2. Maybe someone who does not have the digital literacy, they'll just sell them off, right? And they won't hold them and recognize that holding it for the long term actually has its benefits. So a big part of what we're doing now is focusing on education, number one. And number two, working with things like basic income, where people who, for example, could meet a certain income threshold, think about people who are eligible for low-income housing, they will be eligible to receive these impact coins. So even those who don't have the means, let's say, or the time to take action or to shop local, they'll still have the opportunity to get these coins. So, very quickly, some of the things we can tackle here. We can tackle civic engagement, like I mentioned, getting people to vote, to participate at City Hall, to volunteer. We can get people to, sustainability is huge, right? Cutting emissions, ride your bike, walk, and so forth. Supporting local businesses. Health and wellness, I didn't touch on. It's super important from a preventive medicine perspective. Get people tested for things, right? If they get tested for specific diseases, they can get rewarded. If you get people to, for example, get vaccinated, also maybe reward them too. Walking and so forth. And obviously there are many more. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Who are we? I'm with Kolu, so I'm the COO. We are core contributors to the Urban Change Protocol, working together with Algorand, our amazing team, who are all over, some in Israel, some in Denver, and I'm in New York. And now we've created this consortium, so different cities and officials who are joining, who really want to be on the forefront of education. GBA is a huge part of this, and we're excited to be part of GBA and also to help educate government officials, especially in the local government level, about blockchain and about cryptocurrency to make sure that, first and foremost, you know what it is. Feel free to join the consortium or reach out to me, and thank you all.
Thank you. In the interest of time, we'll
Yes.
do the questions a little later during the judge panel.
Sorry,
so
I
that we
think
make
I
sure.
went
No
over,
problem. You
and I'm
did
sorry
great.
for
You
that.
did wonderful. But please don't leave because we might
No,
have
no, I'll
questions
stay.
during the panel. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Awesome. Dr. Ann Ingraham next, and then right after we'll have Malini. So please be ready. I'm collating all the questions so that during the judges panel we can follow up. It's better if we finish on time. Please don't forget to also add how much you're asking for. It was on the last slide that you were provided as a template. It's important for everyone to know.
I'm doing.
You can look there.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the right presentation because it flipped. All right, let's see.
Can you see? It was right there, just this. Whatever you clicked last. Okay. A little delay.
Okay. It's not on that. Not on the. I need you to see the slide, so it's important. But in the meantime, while he's doing this,
Yeah, just introduce yourself.
my name is Dr. Ann Ingraham, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Exponential Health Tech Advisors. Exponential Health Tech Advisors is a woman-owned, minority-owned, and certified veteran-owned small business. And because I'm a veteran, prior Army, I never go anywhere without my generals, okay? I'm gonna do a quick introduction. This is my co-founder, Peter Gay Philpott. We founded the company together along with a third person who's not here today. Anna Pereira, she is the Chief Executive Officer of Adonai Counseling and Employment. Terrence Morgan is the Chief Executive Officer of Fresh Start Professional Services. And Franklin Smith is the Chief Compliance and Contracts Officer and co-founder of Fresh Start Professional Services. Why did I share their introduction with you, and why are they here? Our solution is now in pilot in their organization. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Adonai provides services. They're all community-based organizations. Adonai is a community behavioral health organization, and Fresh Start is not a community behavioral health organization, but they are a community-based organization, okay? What's the purpose and why we're doing what we're doing? We wanted to create, and we did create a trustworthy integrated data exchange for community services and community providers. I would venture to say that our company and our product, which we'll talk a little bit more in a minute, Axion Galaxy 360 Holistic Management Network, it's a long name, but just say Axion Galaxy 360. I would venture to say it is the first case management solution implemented in a community-based organization or community behavioral health organization. And in fact, our third site, which is here in Maryland, is a multi-specialty clinic, which we are going to be bringing on at some point in time. We just started discussions yesterday. So we wanted a solution, and by the way, our solution is built on Burst IQ's HIPAA-compliant SOC 2 Type 2 blockchain. And we have a representative here, Amber, from Burst IQ. So this is real. This is no longer vaporware, okay? What's the problem? there is a gap, a digital crevasse, let me say that, at the community level. And I think it was actually enhanced when ARA and high-tech monies came into play in 2009, where community providers didn't get the amount of money and the support for electronic medical records like hospitals did and qualified providers. So there's a gap in coordination. More so, there's a gap in using what I call contextual data for decision making, especially for the individuals my community partners serve. And that is what we are going to solve with our solution. Our solution, yes, basic, you may consider basic case management software. We have appointment scheduling, the case management documentation, intake, employment services documentation. We allow a simple way and easy way for the community providers, especially like Ada 9 Fresh Start, going from paper to a digital documentation. And yes, there are other case management software out there, but there's none that I'm aware of right now, based on our research, that is built with a backend of blockchain. Husband is calling me. No, baby, I can't talk to you right now. Our competitors. If you look at the x-axis, the bottom axis, our goal, again, to provide a contextual framework for decision-making at the community level. So we are looking to work with the providers within the community to document and holistically integrate behavioral health data, physical health data, social services data, and also criminogenic risk and needs data. This information really tells the story, the life graph, and I'm taking a trademarked name from Burst IQ, the life graph, the whole person's story. Again, leveraging blockchain. We have competitors in the market, and I selected a few. And the reason why the competitors listed here in the bottom left is because their solution may provide opportunities to document one or two of the digital expressions. They may focus on behavioral health data. They may focus on physical health data, or a combination of both. The upper left-hand quadrant, they may have a combination of both the behavioral health and maybe the social services. But none of them has a combination of all of the data expressions you see on the bottom. Our solution, again, built on the Life Graph network, Burst IQ, and again, working with Burst IQ as a great partner, will be able to integrate all of that data. You know the power of the chain. We have the enhanced security, which the clients, behavioral health clients, medical data, to be HIPAA compliant and secure, needs an enhanced security system, right? Privacy, protection, data security. We are also, again, someone asked in a presentation I did, why blockchain? And I say, why not? We feel that we are now preparing community providers to enter into the realm of the Web3 and to be able to take advantage of that. We see the transition that is happening in the Internet of Value. And so we're visionaries. We're visionaries, and we're going to take, with the aid of my generals here, take community providers and the clients they serve, because they are clients with barriers who need to be overcome, into the future and not let them be laggards, okay? So in looking at what our total available market is, our service level market, and our service level obtainable market, I can't see, I think we have a global opportunity. Our product, I believe, can be taken into the global markets, like Nigeria, like Kenya, and I have relationships in those markets. Easily, dynamically used for their population. Also, within the United States, and by the way, the quadrants the slide here shows both for behavioral health market value as well as the U.S. The healthcare and social services market. It's difficult to separate those two markets. Right now, our SOM, right, the service level market, we're in Washington State. Behavioral health, there are about 2 million people in Washington State, adults. We're not talking young people. About 2 million people in Washington State with behavioral health issues. And so right now, my providers here, my service providers are from Washington State, and like I said, our next will be a multi-specialty clinic who is going to establish a behavioral health clinic, which we're going to help them develop. Is here in Maryland, another Washington, right, basically, right? Yes, 1 minute? Okay, I've got 1 minute to go. So a competitive advantage, I've segmented it in 4 areas. We have an adaptive, signal, system, and social advantage. Our adaptive advantage is that we're built on blockchain. The signal advantage, we've got the technology of the life graph, being able to present that whole person picture for decision making, for empirical decision making. And then, of course, for the system advantage, building out a network of community-based organizations and also government entities. And then, of course, the social advantage is we want to be able to leverage the technology for promoting social responsibility and ethical care based on using decisions, using data, and as well as building long-term relationships. And again, our value proposition, to be able to create a trustworthy data exchange, which integrates all of the different areas I talked about, different segments, behavioral health, the criminogenic, the social, and also the physical health. Here are key partners, as I mentioned before, and then the business model. So we look to establish relationships in business with both community-based providers, independent consultants within the field, as well as government entities and provider associations. And we will be charging at 2 levels, both for the application side, where we're charging per life graph, per identity, if you want to use it that way, or whole person, as well as to also charge a subscription for the analytics, right, once we combine all of that data. And here's my team, you've seen them, and what I'm asking for is a minimum of $500,000. Thank you. Okay.
And now we'll have Malini, and then last, Melissa. Please keep to the 5 minutes, okay?
Sorry, I just added a slide.
After Melissa, we have Heather, so. Make sure you say your app.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Malini, and I'm the founder of Flinder Inc. With Flinder, we have 3 platforms. Today, I'm going to talk about our decentralized ID platform. I'm not going to explain what decentralized ID is because pretty much everyone here, I think, understands the concept of decentralized ID. I'm going to move on to our decentralized ID platform, Klefki. Klefki enables onboarding issuers to issue credentials, citizens to accept and store credentials, and verifiers to verify these credentials by obtaining the consent of the citizen. The platform components are, it has a mobile wallet, and we do have an API enablement layer for issuers and verifiers, also dashboard for issuers and verifiers. While there are many use cases that can be built upon Klefki across domains, we have implemented few use cases with clients in governments, quasi-government and fintech, covering Canada, India, South Pacific, and Caribbean. Use cases such as financial profile, parametric insurance, and police certificate. I'm going to talk about a couple use cases here. First, our parametric insurance use case. We built this parametric insurance product for a country in Caribbean last year. With traditional indemnity insurance, the citizens had very low coverage towards a natural disasters, and the payout cycle is really, really slow. It took many years for to complete the payout to the citizens, which in turn led to slow recovery, economic recovery for the country post-disaster. With parametric insurance, citizens are able to purchase coverage against natural disaster according to their affordability, and in an event of an occurrence of natural disaster, immediate automatic payout is triggered directly to the citizen's wallet by proof of the purchase of insurance. So leveraging Klefki, we onboarded all the actors, citizens, distributors, weather data source, and risk capital provider by enabling easy purchase of insurance and issuance of insurance to citizens. And in an event of natural disaster, based on the data gathered from weather data source and proof of purchase, immediate payout is automatically triggered directly to the citizen's wallet, thereby helping the country towards faster economic relief post-disaster. Now, looking at our second use case, which is a police certificate in South Pacific. We are implementing this solution currently for a country in South Pacific. Citizens in this country are required to get a police clearance certificate in order to apply for a work permit to work in Australia and New Zealand. So what happens is, in this country, citizens have to travel from smaller islands to the main capital city, which is located in a main island, and it takes more than 7 days for this travel to happen. Also, the transaction cost for citizens is really, really high. And with the police department, processing time is also really high. So with leveraging Klefki, again, we onboarded the ecosystem of citizens, police department, civil department, and financial institution, thereby enabling citizens to apply for file applications online, cutting their travel down to near zero, and for police department, processing time reduced significantly because they could easily identify their citizen through our blockchain platform. Looking at our business model and scalability, for parametric insurance, though we have implemented this in one country in Caribbean, we are commercializing this across the region, also taking it globally. There is also interest in South Pacific for the parametric insurance product, which we will be implementing in the forthcoming months. With the police certificate, we are going to go live first week of June. Post go live, we are going to expand this to other countries in South Pacific. Our business model is very simple. For parametric insurance, we are partnered with an insurtech firm where we have equity. Also, we charge a small percentage of premium. For police certificate, post go live, we will be charging monthly subscription with the police department. So here you can see some of the awards and credentials that we have achieved. As you see, we are ISO 27001 certified company, and we are completely aligned with the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah, so at the end of this year, we are going to make 2 million, and our ask is we want to raise to about 1.5 million to scale our company and make our team, triple our team. and expand our platforms across the globe.
Thank you. Please be available for questions later, okay? Great, thank you. And now last one from our startup competition is Melissa, please. And then please don't leave because we have the demos right after, okay? We have 3 demos.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Powell, and I'm the founder of POCMI. POCMI stands for Piece of Cake Migration, and we are trying to simplify high-skilled migration. I know that's a tall order for a short person. I am also a former high-skilled migrant and a repatriated citizen. And I am also the great-grandchild of immigrants from 8 countries. So I felt like it's my purpose to do this, but I actually have not felt it as much as I felt it yesterday as I was crossing the border and detained by immigration. And outside of the trauma of the interrogation and the nonsensical line of questioning, I was not surprised that they didn't know what high-skilled immigration is, and more importantly, that they would suggest that I am here to do cleaning services. Because there is currently a huge problem. Approximately 420 million professionals want to move across borders every year, and only 1% to 2% of them get to do so because of lack of opportunities. That contributes to the huge global labor shortage that exists. Systems to match employers to professionals and facilitate high-skilled migration are fragmented and extremely frustrating. I've been there. Additionally, 45% of companies globally have difficulty filling positions. So we just need to connect the two. Our aim is to renormalize and elevate high-skilled migration in the hopes of helping to resolve hoping to resolve global labor shortages, reduce the negative effects of brain drain, improve refugee reintegration, and promote innovation and peace through diversity. Our solution is to build a technology ecosystem that employees can easily showcase the opportunities available to their diaspora, international candidates, and displaced citizens. It's a single software application that integrates matching, immigration, and transition all in one place, with moving globally in mind from the start. It facilitates improvements to cross-border movement for individuals, companies, and governments through AI and big data. And we create global professional self-sovereign identities that level the playing field for credential verification, especially for people like me that come from a developing country where it's hard to figure out if my previous employer is actually real or my degree from University of Technology is real. Our MVP currently is in beta. We're about to launch, and we have garnered customers from 30 countries based on word of mouth. Eventually, in the future, we'll use blockchain-based traceability and smart contract-enabled automated workflows for better document management across multiple stakeholders, change tracking, and adherence to timelines. We are using AI and ML to enhance the connectivity beyond just the job to candidate matching and between all stakeholders throughout the ecosystem, as well as I mentioned before, the candidate verification. Our competitors are filling 3 boxes: immigration, job matching, and transition. By us bringing it all together and focusing directly on what's needed for expatriation, repatriation, and the integration of refugees, we're able to give them fulfill specific needs and help them to save time and costs. So we're taking the entire process from matching all the way up to cultural immersion and putting it on one platform. As such, we're able to save employers 45% of the time, and 50% of the costs when it comes on to high-skilled immigration. We only supply cross-border opportunities. So if there is a person that does not want to move, they cannot be listed on our job site. And if there's a job not open to moving someone, they also cannot be listed on our job site. We focus again on expatriates, repatriates, and refugees. We also have country pages, which gives access to information about countries from economic development plans to lifestyle. Our value proposition is that we intend to significantly reduce the impending 85 million global labor shortage slated for 2030, which could cost employers $8.5 trillion in unrecognized revenues. We want to help your country increase the economic growth potential by accelerating the brain exchange process. Our revenue strategies go from subscription fees to data sales. So by the end of this year, after our freemium model, we'll have 3 tiers of subscriptions, each for candidates and companies. By 2023, with the value of the candidates and the companies on board, we'll offer advertising to service providers. And by 2024, with all the data of the movement across borders, we'll be able to help provide public policy firms with data and information reports. The team consists of myself, as I mentioned before, very versed on immigration and high skills movement, and Jeffrey Shiro and Daniel Brown. Jeffrey is my co-founder, and he is the former Accenture partner and seasoned government-level product executive. And Dana Brown, my other co-founder, our highly technical guru with experience building products from idea stage, who has worked on products such as National Passport Service and Zillow. Additional to the founders, we have a team of high-skilled workers between the US, Jamaica, Canada, India, and the Middle East. Our advisors are experienced globally in HR tech, recruitment, government policy, IT security, data, emerging technology, organizational development, and digital identity at reputable companies and within federal governments. We are asking for $250K for a preemptive round and partnerships to get to our goal of 400 companies and 7,800 candidates from 39 countries within the next few months. So let's work together. Please contact me.
Great, thank you. And now we're going to do questions during the judges panel because we're running tight. So now we're moving to the demo section. Please allow me to present to you Mr. Eric Lewis from Iron Weave. Oh, you're gonna, sorry, I didn't, go ahead. Please.
That's okay. It'll just take me a moment to set up the demo. We're moving from the pitch phase to the demo phase, so give me just a moment to get everything set up. Hang on just a second. I got it. I'll need the HDMI, but not that. Just a moment. Great, okay. All right. Well, hello, my name is, oh, just a moment. My name is, I need to hook up the HDMI, sorry. So while that is connecting, my name is David Eisminger. I'm the founder and CEO of Upheaval, the company behind Iron Weave. And there is a little bit of audience participation in this part of the demo. But don't worry, you can do it all in your head. So imagine for a moment a blockchain with unmatched scale, incredible scale, over 1 million transactions per second, all data on chain. Now imagine that being an ultra secure blockchain down to the block level, where every block is encrypted with its own set of unique encryption keys. Now imagine that same blockchain is extremely flexible. You can have blocks as small as 100 bytes. You can have blocks as large as megabytes. So we imagined this blockchain, and then we built it. So our blockchain is Ironweave, and it's a fundamental shift, and it's a novel and different approach to blockchain and the blockchain platform. Existing blockchains place one block at a time, one on top of the other, for what we call a monolithic blockchain, a single collection of blocks, one after the other. In Ironweave, there is an unlimited number of interacting chains. And whenever an interaction occurs between two or more chains, a shared block is created and placed on each chain. That shared block has a hash from the previous chain, so there are at least 2 hashes in each block. It's encrypted, and only the participants have access to that data. You can share that data if you want. You can not share it if you want. You can have your own private walled gardens within Ironweave, but there is no limit to the scale or security in Ironweave. So what does this mean? It means that, let's say you have 2 chains, chains A and B, that are participating in a digital interaction. They create a shared block that is placed on each chain, and then they kind of go about their business. Now, simultaneously, let's say there's blocks X, Y, and Z, or chains X, Y, and Z, and they are engaged in a digital interaction, and they're creating a block, and that block is placed on each of their chains. A and B can have that digital interaction. X, Y, and Z can have that digital interaction simultaneously. The blocks can be created at the same time. So parallel block creation, and blocks A and B have no idea that X, Y, and Z even exist, and they can't access that data. Blocks X, Y, or chains X, Y, and Z have no idea that A and B exist, or that there's any sort of interaction going on, or any blocks being created, or any data being put onto the Ironweave fabric. This architecture, this shared block architecture, results in the ability for massive scale. We can scale horizontally because we are not limited to a single monolithic block. We can have exceptional security because you can decide whether you want to share your data or whether you don't. Let's say you're a government agency and you need to have inter-agency communication, but you also have to have information that is kept within your agency. You can have some chains that are only accessible within the agency. You can have an edge chain for communicating with your other agency or agencies. And you can have hundreds or thousands of chains, however many you need, for whatever process you need. Think government regulation, think credentials, think if you're the VA, maybe you're interested in patient records, or maybe you're interested in a given doctor and the sort of interactions that they've had throughout time. It has all the benefits of other blockchains, which is immutability, the hashing function that I mentioned, but Ironweave doesn't care what kind of data you're creating, using, sharing, building. You can use little IoT updates. You can share Form 72A. You can ensure that that's automatically properly filled out, for example, and that it's submitted to the correct agency, and then all of a sudden your reporting becomes automated. You as a reporter, you as the agency have access to that information, and only you. And then all of the ambiguity, all of the other things that may come with a non-immutable mechanism by which you would share that information or regulate that particular agency can go away. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we created something that we call Weavemark during the process of developing Ironweave. And we created this in order to stress test Ironweave during the development cycle. We, many very late nights staring at Jaeger traces, for anyone who's in the development side of things, to see exactly how many cycles that particular call took, or why it took 7 milliseconds when it should have taken 3. So during, and the reasoning behind that is because A, we wanted to make it as absolutely performant as possible, but B, we wanted to make it as efficient as possible. We're here at the sustainability conference, right? We use consensus mechanisms that don't require vast amounts of energy. We have the ability to finalize blocks in under 50 milliseconds. So let's take a look. So let's start with the closest thing that Ironweave has to what a monolithic blockchain might look like. On the left here, you have the initiators and the participants. There's the concept of a chain initiating a block creation, and then whoever is participating in it. So when we start, what we're going to see is when I click this button and start, what you're going to see on the right is blocks being created in real time. Each of those blocks is encrypted with its own set of encryption keys. Each of those blocks is being placed on each of the participant chains while it's happening, and that data is accessible only to the participants. But like I said, we created Weavemark in order to test and stress test Ironweave. So when I increase the threads on this, and that's just a computer thread, and essentially what that's doing is that is hitting that chain pair simultaneously with that many threads. So imagine you have a highly used process in your business or in your agency, and people are hitting it at the same time, and it needs to be performant. Well, what we're going to see is that just like in Ironweave, you can have simultaneous blocks being created among various participants. Also in Ironweave, each chain can burst out to create simultaneous blocks in order to meet the performance requirements. So what you saw there is a single pair automatically fanning out into bursts and enabling the performance requirements for that high load chain to meet those requirements, and that it automatically merges when it's done. But I mentioned that this can happen simultaneously, right? That there can be parallel block creation, and Ironweave just kind of handles it. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to select a handful of initiators and a handful of participants, and what Ironweave is going to do is it's going to grab initiators, it's going to grab participants, and automatically start creating blocks among them randomly just to see what happens. And what we're going to see is that Ironweave doesn't care. It just continues to do what it's going to do and creates those random blocks and connects and interacts with those simultaneously. So what does that mean in terms of performance? Well, what we're going to see is that for example, financial technology or other kind of high use, high need, high load environments, what we're seeing is that as Ironweave continues to create these blocks, what you're seeing here is we have a value right here of the transactions per second. So in this particular case, where we have multiple threads hitting against this chain pair simultaneously, right now we're at about 840,000 transactions per second. Now, the speed with which you're going to be able to do this is going to be dependent on your internet connection, for example, of course. So there are all sorts of things that can affect the performance. But as this is finishing up, imagine what you could do or what could be done with a blockchain that can scale to whatever need that you need, that can be secure for whether it's communications, whether it's data exchange, whether it's transactions. whether it's regulatory compliance, whether it's healthcare requirements, whatever it is that you happen to be doing, you need not only speed and scalability, but you need security. And then you need privacy, because this world needs more privacy than it has today. So in the end, what I would say is, would you rather have a monolithic blockchain, or would you rather have a multidimensional blockchain where you can assure that you have scalability and that you don't have to contend with others for the resources, where when you need to ensure that your business, your government agency, whatever it is that your interactions have, that the resources available are going to be there, and that you can ensure that only you and the folks with whom you want to share that data have access to it, then I would just suggest that you consider Ironweave. So we're going to be here for the whole conference, and we're especially going to look forward to seeing you at the Friday night reception, the innovation reception. So ask us questions. Come meet with us, come talk with us. We'd love to hear what you're trying to do, what you're trying to solve. There are technologies. Blockchain is a technology, and then there are solutions. So on our website, you'll see how we differentiate between those. Blockchain is a technology, security is an element of technology, but when you put those technologies together in special ways, what you find is you find solutions. So when you have scalability plus guaranteed provenance plus security and privacy, you all of a sudden have the capability to have a credentials system, and that you can guarantee provenance. So that can solve for fraud issues, for counterfeiting, for all sorts of various things that are difficult to achieve unless you have scalability and security and flexibility. Maybe you're a pipeline company or a water company, and you need to have just little blocks because the valves don't take up that many blocks, according to that CSV. If that's the case, Ironweave is your solution, because we can have blocks of any size, little, created in real time with an architecture that uses event-driven, it's an event-driven architecture rather than a polling architecture, which means when something happens, it can immediately create a block because that event happened, rather than saying, oh, did this happen? No. Did this happen? No. So the analytics, the AI, the underlying AI system that you can run on Ironweave, and that it is hardwired to create and provide, is a platform and a fabric that enables you to do your own thing in a private walled garden, interact with the world at scale, both or either. So thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the demonstration, and look forward to seeing you at the rest of the conference. That's okay.
Now we have the next demo, Mr. Shiv Agarwal from EarthID. Thank you. You can use that one, please.
It's working?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. But let me just set up very quickly, and then
Sure.
we can get going.
And as we mentioned, after this demo, we'll have the judges roundtable that will comment on the startups we saw. Thank you.
Is it on? Okay.
It takes a little second. There's a tiny delay.
Let's see. Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shiv Agarwal, founder and CEO of EarthID. So let's get started. So I will just present a couple of slides just to set the context. And I've personally recorded the demonstration because I wanted to basically avoid any technical glitches, and I also wanted to optimize the time of the audience. So as an introduction, EarthID is an award-winning decentralized identity platform that allows secure and frictionless exchange of identity information. And our mission is to basically help organizations prevent frauds, optimize processes, and drive sustainability. And actually, because this event is focused on sustainability, it makes sense to talk about that. And lastly, we are also basically enabling frictionless and secure access to the Web3 and metaverse-based ecosystem. So our focus is forward-looking. So we are working with global enterprises, global governments. So our focus is B2B and B2G. And these are some of the reasons, some of the many reasons that why customers want to work with us. Some of the reasons are basically we are using distributed ledger technology for fraud prevention. Our solution works across 200 countries. We help basically increase customer conversion and retention. We help avoid duplicate accounts. This platform is basically designed in a user privacy model. And then you can use this platform for securing both digital as well as physical assets. So it has a lot of benefits. These are some of the key customer engagements that we are currently delivering. This is not what we are sort of looking forward to. This is something which we are actually delivering at the moment with our global customers, which are either governments, or either global enterprises, or they are innovative SMEs, right? So some of the use cases are being digital identities for citizens, employees, and students, digital onboarding, licenses and certificates, basically, which is like the verifiable credentials, which we have been talking about. We are also working in digital recruitment space with respect to reducing the frauds and friction with respect to applying for employment. Then we are also working across healthcare with respect to telehealth, with respect to how do you ensure, because of pandemic, people have moved towards online platforms for getting healthcare. And that is where how do you basically make sure that to make them more efficient, more effective. We are also working in the travel space with respect to how do you make the travel more seamless, more contactless, and I think a better experience altogether. So in the morning, somebody mentioned that one guy took a 30-hour flight. So it's like if you have to bother again and again with respect to your documents, that is not a good experience across 30 hours. So this is what we solve here. Then we are very much focused on Web3 and metaverses. So it's about basically creating a single window with respect to how do you manage your identity as well as your assets across these Web3 as well as metaverse-based ecosystems. And the lastly, digital key, right? So when we talk about smart businesses, smart cities, smart tourist destinations, how do you basically use your identity in a device to basically gaining access to physical as well as digital resources, right? So this is the work that we are already doing with our customers across the globe. What we have done is like in the last 2 years or so, we are a UK-based company, but now we have basically created presence across different regions. We recently opened our first office in US, in Miami, and we are in the process of opening next office in Dubai, which will be ready by end of this year. And with that note, I would basically like to do a very short demonstration. This demonstration is not representing any specific industry, but it's about the capabilities that we have, the building blocks that we have, which can help different customers from different industries to sort of solve their use cases, solve their business problems. Right, and with that note, let me play it, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, there's no audio. Okay. This video will demonstrate all the capabilities of the platform. Okay. The user can download ID app from Apple or Google Play Store. The user can now register their Earth ID either by scanning an ID card or by providing. I don't know, the audio is not working. No, I paused it actually, so I don't know. Let's see. There's a problem now. Let's see if it works. Hi. This video will demonstrate some of the capabilities of Earth ID platform. Is it audible now? As you can see on the screen, we have the Earth ID app on the right-hand side. The user can download Earth ID. Okay, I think we need some support here. Sorry about that.
Jordan, even, hi, can you help us, please?
Okay, I think. Oh, okay. Fine. So I'll walk through, I think, and then. But okay? Let's do this. Okay.
Hi.
Fine. It's playing, right? So if you look at the screen, so we have two sides. On the left-hand side, you can see a portal, and on the right-hand side, it's basically the app. And then with the app, you can actually register yourself using two methodologies. One is by either using a document like your passport, your driving license, or something else, or you can also register manually. Right. So in this video, we will be basically doing a manual registration. so that we can demonstrate the different functionalities. So you can just provide your basic information, like your name, your phone number, and your email address. And that basically, and then you can basically add your phone number across 200 countries, right? It's not basically specific to any specific region, but it's like you can have a phone number from anywhere in the world, and it would work. So the other way is basically you can scan one of your ID, and then it will pick the information, and then you can just add some of the remaining pieces of the information. So now we are generating the Earth ID. So this Earth ID is basically being generated using smart contract. And what it does is like it verifies this information with respect to validity and duplicity. So you cannot create two Earth IDs. That is what the purpose is. So only one person can only have one Earth ID. So once the Earth ID is generated, basically
the Earth ID of the
get a
user is
QR code which
generated,
sort
and
of
they can download a QR code
contains
as a
your keys.
backup,
So this is
can be
meant
used
for
for porting or
porting
recovering
the
their identity in
identities.
the
So tomorrow,
future.
let's say if you change your device, you can basically scan the same QR code and you can port the identity to a different device instead of creating a new one.
Now
You
the
can
user can
protect
set the
the
security of the app
or
using
your
Touch ID,
data
Face ID, or
through
passcode.
different mechanisms. So
Here
you can
we
use
go
Touch
with the
ID,
Face ID
ID,
option.
passcodes, and these are device independent. So it's not like that you have to have the latest iPhone. If you have a old Android, but if the camera is working, then this would work.
Earth ID
And
uses
we basically
anti-spoofing
use
liveness detection
latest
to
facial
ensure a
recognition
live user is
technology
interacting with the app
to basically
and
to
not a
ensure that
photo or video.
that the user is not spoofing the system with respect to not playing a video, not playing or not showing a photo. So it's like actual human being. So there's a liveness test. That is what we also do. So it's a real thing that I have basically done specifically for this demo. Yeah. So it basically records your
The user can now
facial
verify their
recognition,
phone
and then
number
you can
and
use
email
it for
address
later
using
purposes.
OTP.
And then we have different features with respect to trust score, with respect to awards, which can be used for different purposes. So there are different layers of security. So now we are setting up the security, and then now it's about verifying your phone number. When we verify the phone number as well as the email address, this is again done using smart contracts, because in general what happens is like if you are doing verification using general OTP,
Now the user
there are a
can
lot of
digitize
cases
any
where
of their
it can be
existing ID
scammed, right? So
cards
people are able
by
to basically
scanning
steal
or
your
uploading
OTP,
it from
and
their
then they can
phone.
basically fraud the system. So this is where we are using smart contracts for OTP verification also. Now what we are doing is like here you can scan one of
Earth
your
ID
ID
verifies the
documents across
document for
200
authenticity,
countries,
validity,
and
and
our
ownership.
platform would be able to verify it with respect to validity, authenticity, tampering, ownership, and then we do a liveness detection also again to ensure that the user who's scanning the document is actually the owner of the document as well, right? And once all the checks and balances are done, this information is broken down into bits and pieces and stored into the wallet. This information is not uploaded anywhere, not in any central repository, not on any blockchain. It stays on your
Once the
wallet,
verification is
and the
complete,
wallet
the
could be
document
on a
gets
mobile
added to the
device, the
user
wallet
wallet.
could be on web, the wallet could be also a hardware wallet, right? And that is what we are working in the future. Now we are talking about verifiable credentials. So you can actually go to an issuer like your university or your employer or the government, and then you can request for specific credentials. At the moment, there are no credentials in the wallet. So what you can do is like you can go to the issuer's portal. You can authenticate yourself using passwordless technology. So if you look at this, here we did not enter any user ID or password. We just scanned a QR code which sort of established the connection. And then because the identity is already on the wallet, you are able to basically authenticate yourself. So there's nothing to steal, you don't have to fall prey to phishing attacks. So once you are authenticated, then you can request for credentials. The credentials could be a lot of different things. It could be your university certificates, it could be your employment credentials, it could be your, let's say, government issued identities. So there are a lot of verifiable credentials which this platform works with. And you can also provide a certain additional information, right? Because let's say there is certain information which is in your wallet already, but for generating a specific credentials, you might need additional pieces of information. So the platform allows to add more pieces of information on the fly. So it's a very dynamic platform in that sense. It's not rigid. So you can customize a lot of different things based on the use cases. So now the credential has been generated. and it's stored in the wallet. And you can see it's basically stored in different ways. So it could be stored as an ID document. It could be stored also as a row XML, which can be used for multiple different purposes. So this is basically sort of the content of the verifiable credentials. Now we'll go to the Verifier Portal, which is basically, let's say, a bank or an employer who wants to basically consume your data for verification or due diligence purposes. Again, the same mechanism, simple. You scan a QR code, which establishes the connections, and then it also requests, it tells you basically what all information a particular verifier is requesting for. And then you can basically do selective data disclosure. So you can choose what information you want to authorize. So it's an explicit consent mechanism. So if you think about this, so it's a very privacy and a consent-oriented platform. And once the user authorizes, the information is shared. And now the verifier can actually verify this information against the blockchain. So what happens, what it means is that first of all, the information is exchanged with the verifier, but they are also able to basically ensure that this information hasn't been tampered with. And this information is also valid, because sometimes what happens is like the credentials might expire, right? Or somebody might take the credential away, but in this case, on the fly, the verifier is able to basically establish the authenticity and the validity of a shared credential. So on that note, this is the demo. If you have any questions, this is the information, but I'm around. We have a table set up. Please feel free to reach out to us. There are a lot of different use cases across different industries, and we are happy to explore and collaborate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great demo. Awesome, and now I would like to invite our virtual judges as well as our judges here on the stage. Are we ready to also have our virtual judges join us? Okay. First, please allow me to also introduce the judges a little bit more formally, because we just wanted to make sure that the startups get a chance to present. So first, Professor Jim Liu.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello. That's what I'm talking about. That's like a real revolution, right? It's not a revolution. It's just we're going to have fun here. So I'm Jim Liu. I'm an associate professor at Johns Hopkins Business School. I've been teaching entrepreneurial finance. I teach cryptos and blockchains. And I also have two daughters, Sophie and Catherine, 13 and 16. I'm trying to inspire them to be the next disruptors. So for all you entrepreneurs, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, because I'll point to them. I told them I'm going to this blockchain startup conference. There's going to be entrepreneurs there. And sometimes I try to bring them along to sit on the judging side so they can see. And it's a lot of fun. But SoCat does big data machine learning stuff. So we do some stuff. We actually implemented something in the government in the early days in blockchains. And we're still a little bit early, but I think what you guys are doing is super duper exciting. So I'll tell you one quick story and then I'll send it over. When I started as a professor there teaching, I wasn't an associate professor, I was an adjunct professor. And I started teaching an entrepreneurial finance course. And I tried a couple of entrepreneurial things. It was a total disaster, because I was always trying to name it after myself, right? Jim Liu, capital management, total disaster. Don't name it after yourself. That's rule number one. Then I decided to name it after my daughters, Sophie and Catherine. So I call it SoCat. And then now, for some reason, it's starting to work, right? Because, I have an emotional relationship to my business, but at the same time, it's not so close that I can make sort of decisions, right? And so that's kind of a joke. I tell my students, never name a company after yourself. If you want to have success, that's rule number one. Number two, I think you guys did a really great job. Everybody did a great job. It's very nerve-wracking to come up on stage when you first do it. I've seen lots of entrepreneurs at Johns Hopkins, and they always start out the same, really bad. And then by the third or fourth iteration, by the fifth time, by the 10th time that they're pitching, it's almost flawless. Because you get better and better and better, and that's the point, right? But you got to get started in order to get the feedback, and you got to receive that feedback, and you got to listen, right? You got to listen to these, and you will get better. And I've seen, Johns Hopkins, there's a lot of technical entrepreneurs. So in one of the classes, the entrepreneurial finance class, I asked these, PhD folks to come in. Total disaster. I mean, the students were so angry. They're like, this person doesn't communicate well. They don't understand the audience. They didn't tell us about the business. They didn't even tell us how much money they were trying to raise. All they talked about was the science, and we're not these scientists, right? So it was so funny. And then about 1 or 2, like 9 months, 6 months, 9 months, they were winning these competitions at Harvard and MIT. The same group that came to my class. It was total disaster, right? So you get better, so find mentors. I'm here, Government Blockchain Association. I have my company, but I was mentored by some people actually in government contracting. So it's a husband and wife team, Dovel Technologies. They're no longer around. Their company got bought up by Guidehouse. And they're the ones who got me started in government contracting. So it's really important to find people who are sort of, done with the game that you're playing so they can give you some good advice, and they're not really your competitors. So, I encourage you guys to look for that, especially in DC. There's tons of people who are very successful entrepreneurs in DC. I'm mostly in Baltimore. It's less so. DC is a very, vibrant community. There's real successful entrepreneurs here. There are a few in Baltimore, but I think it's a better ecosystem down here. That's what I've noticed. Anyhow, that's it for me.
All right. Tough act to follow up. So I'm Silvio Pupo, born and raised in Miami. Just a little bit of involvement in entrepreneurship and finance. Everything from sustainable development, public-private partnerships, technology commercialization from institutional universities, government contracting at a federal level, at a local level. But I'm an impact investor and banker by training. So very interested as an entrepreneur to see everybody's projects and what's happening, across different fields today, multiple segments, multiple sectors. It's been also really great from last year's pitch competition to see some of the differences and more maturity in the proposals from concept stage more to like already operating businesses. Some friendly faces. I remember one of our first GBA conferences at George Mason University, seeing yourself, Doc, and sort of seeing this evolution over time of the transformation after pandemic even that's forced a lot of us that had whether old businesses to either recreate the old legacy business or to create a new business. So I have that unique perspective that I'm really appreciating today, seeing some of the wonderful faces of Radhika, Linda, Dr. Sindhu, Brad, and Michael, and Professor Nasir here as well. Just really excited to be judging this, and I'll pass on the mic. Not much more to say. Yeah, I'm still an investment banker. Yeah, but right now I'm more on the principle-based projects prioritization. Simply because of the crisis that's happening all around us. So great to see what's happening, really interesting. Thank you, Dr. Ingrid, for having me today.
Thank you. And now we're going to move on to our virtual judges. First, Professor Dr. Naseem Naqvi, our honorary judge. He's joining us from the UK. He's the president of the British Blockchain Association. Welcome. Can you hear us? Professor? You're on mute, or we can't hear you. No. Team, can you make sure Professor Naseem has audio? Not yet, not yet. Maybe we'll, now it turned on, yeah. Unbelievable.
Screen turned off now.
Yeah, no. Sure. Definitely. We have several judges. Professor Dr. Naseem Naqvi, as you heard, he's the president of the British Blockchain Association. Then we have Linda Getz. She's also a well-known, not only investor, but also has held multiple leadership roles in the blockchain ecosystem. We have Radhika Iyengar. She's going to be leading our World Business Angel Investment Forum Silicon Valley office, which is opening this Friday. She's also partner for Double Nova Group. We also have Brad Yasser, very well known in the blockchain and crypto ecosystem as well. We have Dr. Millery. He is a senior engineer of one of the fastest growing cybersecurity companies and has 20 plus year experience in the blockchain ecosystem. I'm gonna let all of them introduce themselves, but in the meantime, just wanna make sure. And then also Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar, he's also in our GBA board. He has leadership roles in numerous companies, as well as academia and in the private ecosystem, including banking and investing. So our goal today is to A, let them introduce themselves as soon as we can, and B, hear a little bit about what they liked from all the startups today, maybe one or two comments. So hopefully we have audio fully functional again from our virtual teams.
Is it working now?
Perfect, go ahead. Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, excellent. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes, we can.
Very good, thank you. So thank you very much to the Government Blockchain Association for inviting me. And thank you, Dr. Ingrid, for very kind introduction. I did manage to hear some of the presentations. Really good, well done to all. And I believe I've got about 5-10 minutes, so I'm going to keep it very, very short. And what I thought I would talk about is how blockchain startups progress through these 7 stages in their lifetime. So we start with the basic science, and then we move on to the efficacy stage, which is demonstration of the your impact in ideal setting. And then we move on to effectiveness, where you have demonstrated some real world benefit, as we heard from some of the presenters. And then the next step is the efficiency stage, which is the biggest effect on most people. And this is, at this stage, the governments and policymakers start taking you seriously, because you are now causing some impact at a scale. And then the next 2 stages are availability and distribution. So if you are doing well, then you have to be prepared to serve a large number of population. So at some point in your journey, your startup is going to be evaluated, either at a small scale, like a hackathon like this, that's been organized by GBA, or at a more formal level, such as a government level evaluation, such as we have UK Research and Excellence Framework, and there are others. So you should be prepared to demonstrate the evidence of impact, as well as 4 other key metrics that are being assessed. So the first one is the idea, how novel it is. Is this exceptionally novel? Then your project design, is it robust? Then your outcomes and outputs. You have to present your work, publish your work. They have to be reviewed, peer reviewed, audited, or whatever you call it. And then the point of reference. So is your work becoming an essential point of reference for others to follow, based on a number of metrics, such as references to or citation of your work? And evaluation is important, because a few years ago, US Government Accountability Office evaluated 10 large community projects over a 10-year period. And the programs were costing about $10 billion. And they found out that 9 of them had little to no positive impact on their participants. And in fact, some programs were not evaluated at all. So for the evaluation, they used something called randomized control studies. And they found out that they were literally bleeding money and the programs were not working, which then led to the then US President Donald Trump signing Foundations for Evidence-Based Policy Making Act, which is now a law in the United States. So evidence-based policy making is now a law in the United States. And I will recommend all of you, particularly those in the US, to read that. And finally, it is important that we follow up on the journey of these blockchain startups. and also their outcomes and impact data, something that we are not very good at. And this is based on a study that was done a few years ago by the US Agency for International Development, the USAID, and they looked at 43 blockchain projects and concluded that almost no startup was willing to share their what we call MERL processes, MERL, monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning outcomes. So as a blockchain startup, are you prepared to share your results, your monitoring results, your evaluation results, your research results, and also the evidence of your outcomes and impact? Because if you don't share, we don't know what happened and how are we going to learn and how are others going to learn. So we recommended this last year in the UK's national blockchain roadmap, the need for a national level repository of successfully implemented blockchain use cases. And we are currently building this repository, and I will recommend and encourage all of you to do the same as well at your level. So that's it from me. I wish all the best to all the startups and projects that have presented their work today. And thank you again to the GBA for inviting the British Blockchain Association. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll have, I know it's midnight where Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar is, so I hope you can stay awake for us. If you can briefly introduce yourself and maybe make one or two comments about the startups that you've witnessed today, we would appreciate it.
Thank you, Ingrid, and thank you for inviting me also to this session. I'm Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar. I'm the co-chairman and founder of PhD Group of Companies based at MIT Boston. Okay. So I'm the founder and co-chairman of PhD Group of Companies. I'm based at CIC MIT Cambridge, and mine is this impact platform. So it was very welcome to hear so many new projects coming with the backing of blockchain coming out in the open and giving out the suggestions that how we can go about with the implementation of blockchain in different essential services and products. But it was very, very novel, and I congratulate all of them. As a judge also, I was judging all those projects. It was very refreshing also to hear all those things. But only thing which I missed was that in technology, we are still creating the haves and have-nots, the basic gap between the developed and developing world. So whatever we are talking of in our projects may not be very good for impact for developing countries. So that is the only point which I wanted to highlight. Rest, I will not like to take much of the time. Other participants are there. So thank you very much, and all the best to all the participants.
Thank you. Now, Brad, thank you. Brad Yasser, if you can also introduce yourself briefly and maybe make one or two comments regarding the startups that you witnessed.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, Ingrid and GBA. It's always exciting to get exposed to this caliber of startups, and with the impact component of this conference, I'm very stoked to just hear the projects that are burning right now. As of the way of my background, I'm a 15-time entrepreneur and been investing for 2 decades, angel, venture, as well as a family office, and have a portfolio over 300 investments. About 2/3 of them are blockchain due to the technology. And so, big supporter of GBA and everyone building a decentralized share. As far as the projects go, I think I put my pure investor hat on and not taking an academic or procedural approach to it. And two things that I felt were not really addressed And I'll start there because all the presentations were very, very well received, and thank everyone before they hear my feedback. I think it's important. As an investor, the single most important is, of course, the value you're going to get for your investment. So I would have really wanted to hear the ask a little bit more detailed. So not just we want $250,000, but more like we're raising $250,000 as debt, as convertible note, as a safe, and here is our current valuation. Because in order to evaluate the ROI that I should be expecting, the participants did a very good job at clearly defining the market size, the opportunity, and some did again, really good job at defining how they're going to monetize the platforms they're creating. But there wasn't a lot of attention to, okay, at what level as an investor am I being invited to join this journey? And I think that's a key piece of information that any type of investor is going to look for. So the traditional true and tested model of saying, hey, I'm raising $1 million valuation, and the discount, there's no discount, that really help with the decision-making process. So I would recommend that a little more emphasis be put on those areas. As far as, I'm passionate about healthcare, especially in the United States, because we have all the technology sources and probably one of the least functioning healthcare systems, unfortunately, that I personally experienced. So the two projects that we're talking about, information and things like that, the biggest question for someone in the space, and we'll continue to support it until we have personal record portability, is how are they absorbing the data, and how are they making it, and how are the willing participants share their data, because data is protected within I think if we touched a little bit more, whether it's a social care space, medical care space, on how that's a huge for some in the space, and that's the biggest challenge to solve there. It's not how to protect or encrypt or deliver information. Very simple.
Brad, you're cutting out quite a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe turn video off. We can't hear you. You're cutting out. The internet is not stable there.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Much better, yes. Just speak a little louder.
Okay, well, I was just saying the data access and sharing, I think, is key for the projects that we're trying to uniformize and increase the portability of patient data. So a little bit more specifics into how they're trying to, how they're looking to solve that problem would have been very valuable for someone like me who's invested in that space and is a big supporter of, innovating our healthcare system globally. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Radhika Iyengar. I had briefly introduced you, but if you can please share with the audience your full role in the blockchain ecosystem and the newest role that's going to start Friday.
Sure. I'm Radhika Iyengar. I'm founding partner at StarChain Ventures here in Silicon Valley. And I've been in the blockchain space for 5+ years. Author of Enterprise Blockchain has arrived along with my colleague, Jordan Woods. And we run a venture studio, which is not only investing in our own startups, which we're spinning up that are solving critical challenges, but we're also kind of expanding the ecosystem. And to that point, I'm involved in a number of initiatives globally that are building the ecosystem around Web3 and deep tech, to be specific. For one, just launching the brand new Silicon Valley office for the World Business Angel Investments Forum. That launch is happening Friday, so it's a very exciting week for us. And Dr. Ingrid is on our board as well, so really great to have her involvement with this. I'm also on the USA board and the Global Women Leaders Committee for WBAF. Have been on other boards as well. I'm very integrally involved in the healthcare space with Partners in Digital Health Institute and Blockchain in Healthcare Today, which is the first peer-reviewed journal in the space. So, you know, my whole, I think, thought process through what I'm doing in blockchain is really trying to build the ecosystem around this incredibly transformative technology, and absolutely in combination with other advanced technologies. And I think the opportunities are very clear in terms of and we've seen some of that today with companies that are focused not only on developing technology for technology's sake, but really looking at impactful outcomes. So for me, the big push is on what can we build that is impactful, but that is also high growth and creates value along the way. And so for me, those are really the key driving forces in everything I do personally and professionally is how do we maximize the impact of what we're doing? And to that point, I think it was incredibly encouraging to see such a great variety of blockchain-based applications, you know, in healthcare, in, you know, migrant workers or the, you know, immigrants, in, you know, many other areas as well. And so I think, and also, you know, participative government or civic sort of ecosystem, that was also very innovative to see. So I think the very innovative and original ideas that I think it was very encouraging to see. I think on the feedback point, I will just say, you know, it would be great, and I do this all the time, all day long in Silicon Valley. It's really hard to get a cohesive story out within the time that you have to present on your startup. That's a very challenging task, actually, but it is possible. And I think, you know, my feedback is think about the entire story end to end, and not only focus on one aspect, which may be product or team or solution or what have you. It is about the whole story. And from an investor point of view, if you're pitching to investors, to Brad's point, think about why you are going to be rising above the noise in an investor's eyes. And in an investor's eyes, it's about, you know, how are you going to make money? And so I think a lot of the startups today attempted to present, I think, you know, their views on business models and so on, but it was not as clear to me in terms of how the money was going to be made. Components might have been listed, but not specifics. And also the projections, you know, how, you know, first of all, if this is a big market you're going after, how are you going to capture a good share of that market? And if you're looking at multiple geos globally, scalability can be an issue because each unique ecosystem has its own barriers to entry. So how do you propose to surmount those barriers to entry? How do you think about scaling that globally? That's something that I would love to have seen more information about. And I encourage those of you who have presented today to think about that entire story, particularly from an investor point of view, if you're pitching to investors, that is. But overall, good job, and continue to work hard on your presentations. They're never easy to give, whether it's live or virtually, and I've done both. So just think about that, and think about the audience that you're pitching to and what they want to see. And so with investors, again, the story is about, you know, not just what you're building and the impact, of course, that you're building, which is incredibly important, but also how you're going to accomplish that at a scalable level.
Thank you. We appreciate all the comments from all judges
And thank
so
you,
far.
Ingrid.
Thank you. And then Linda, can you unmute and maybe introduce yourself in more detail and share your feedback to the startups?
Absolutely. I wish I could give everybody the award of just you absolutely showed up. So thank you for that, Ingrid. Thank you for the opportunity for me as a judge to get to show up. I'm Linda Getz, Vice President of the Board for the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce. It's a 501c3 entity that's actually established at the turn of the year, and we've been collaborative with the Government Blockchain Association, Gerard, for years, having hosted trainings in Atlanta, Georgia, at our headquarters there prior to COVID, and just very thankful to have the opportunity to continue to be collaborative and have that better together model. And I wear a lot of hats, so I'm the mother of twins that were born between the writing of the Bitcoin white paper and the Genesis block, just to kind of put that bracket there for you. I'm also the co-founder of the organization called DFM Data Corp, which I hope you're going to be hearing a whole lot more of, especially on the government side of things. We have been focused on standards that will help create greater levels of data integrity and appropriate visibility across global supply chains. And we've all seen the pain points, most recently, even with baby formula. So there's a lot of good work that we've been doing on the standard side of things. Appreciated the little brief that we got from Professor Nassim, because that whole project design outputs, the monitoring and actually getting that evidence of impact out there is so vital. So just want to give huge kudos to some amazing presentations. Jennifer Louden, I've been a fan of hers since I met her going on probably 2 years ago now, and have really enjoyed the opportunity to just encourage and support what she's doing. And nobody really looks at wastewater as like a hot, type of investment opportunity until, you're not getting that clean water that we all need to survive. So very, very happy to see the progress that you've made, Jennifer. And also Vlinder Malini, a great female founder as well, and happy to see just the implementation when you're bringing insurance to people who desperately need it in times of crisis, and supporting that seamless opportunity for them, cutting down the transportation costs of people needing to get permits. Those are real life, changing people's outcomes, use of blockchain. So very happy to see that. Probably the biggest recommendation I would make, other than tagging on to what some of the previous judges have said, I'd like to hear, what kind of investor are you looking for? Because it's not just about how much money or how you're going to spend it or how much money the investor is going to get back, but investors generally come with a lot more than money. They come with networks and expertise and a collaborative value proposition to your company that is priceless. So if you can really think through who is that ideal investor for you and make that part of your presentation, when you're presenting to a large group. Obviously, if you're presenting to individual investors, you hopefully have targeted that already. But that would be my best recommendation, to have that awareness and really make sure that your presentation is drawing out that type of investor, giving them the details that they need to get an emotional connection to your project and see where they can plug in their expertise and network to really help support your outcomes. Thank you.
We really appreciate your guidance and your contributions. And now, last but not least, Dr. Michael Millery.
Dr. Ingrid, honor and privilege to be part of such a distinguished panel. I really enjoyed the learning from the leaders that gave the pitches, as well as from fellow judges, panelists. Again, I'm Michael Millery. During the day, I am a distinguished engineer, leading innovation at one of the fastest growing biopharmas in the US right now. We aim to disrupt manufacturing, bring biopharma manufacturing back home and create stable supply chains. In the blockchain world, I'm on the board of advisors of SoftThread, which has a Chios private blockchain that has solved a number of grand challenges in the space. I'm also on the board of EC Council and a number of other boards, and a distinguished fellow at University of Miami focused on blockchain and industrial cybersecurity. Back in 2015, I led one of the first largest federal blockchain projects, primarily focused on cybersecurity. And when we looked at how a number of our smart infrastructures are weaving together cyber and physical, information technology and operational technology, we saw that the many third parties and fourth parties involved in the exchanges of value, whether it's a power grid or health infrastructure or defense or transportation, also created significant attack surface that could be exploited. As we all know, in the digital age, anything digital is easy to exfiltrate, manipulate, destroy. And so I was really happy to see that a number of the pitches were around improving the trustworthiness of transactions, disintermediating those many third parties that are not necessary to create value inside such an ecosystem. What I wanted to see more of as we start to unravel and pull the thread on improving cybersecurity is how specifically would the solution improve the confidentiality? How would it improve the integrity? And how would it improve the availability of those digital data exchanges? But then again, I was very, very impressed with the novel pitches. I was very impressed with the teams that were put together and the problem solved. In my own experience back in early days, 2015, 2016, one of the major gaps beyond technology was really the lack of policy, procedure, government regulation. And so I sought out, the forces of nature, the magnetic forces brought me together with Jared Dash and the talented team at Government Blockchain Association, which really continues not only to educate the community, but really fill those critical gaps. And so kudos to you, Jared, and the Government Blockchain Association team. Just today I saw, I think there's over 50 bills right now in Congress that are looking to, again, set up those guardrails, those policies necessary to move us securely, safely into Web 3.0, into Industry 4.0, and set up guardrails along this industry. I think that's only going to give impetus to more disruption, more security and stability along with the novel ideas. And so I just really want to give kudos to GBA for filling that gap. And again, echoing the sentiment shared from other judges and Dr. Ingrid's contribution to this space. So thank you very much. Again, humbled to be part of this panel and look forward to following this journey these various companies are on. Very, very exciting that the positive disruption and value they're bringing to this ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you. And with the help of Rob Perry, who was able to collate all the results, we have a winner and a runner-up to announce. Before I do so, I just wanted to thank everybody that contributed and also share with you the criteria that the startups were evaluated on so that you know exactly what was judged. Originality and creativity, feasibility and execution, which, as you know, is very important, value proposition, ROI potential, sustainability, scalability, the business model, quality of the presentation, team expertise, and then we also had an X factor, which of course is dependent on every startup. So based on that, I would like to welcome Melissa and Malini to the stage. Before I announce which one is the winner and which one is the runner-up, please have a seat. I wanted to maybe allow you to share something that you didn't put in the presentation, but maybe one sentence that speaks to what drove you to start the company and what your aspirations are. So, again, something that you didn't present on so that the audience can hear a little bit more, something personal.
Sure. Actually, I was working in Wall Street for more than 15 years before I founded Flinder. The main reason I started this company is, again, looking at social impact. It may be funny, but the true story is when I was purchasing a diamond jewelry, right? How authentic is it? Nobody knows, especially whatever is going on in Africa, right? The trade, the blood diamond, and etc. So that was actually the trigger for me to maybe we should do something now that we have blockchain and technology. We should prove that this is really originating in a fair fashion and it's reaching to the jewelry store. So that's how we started our first platform, which is the traceability and authentication platform. Unfortunately, with whatever we learned 6 months in the diamond experience, we had to drop that. However, while we proceeded with the platform and we were able to onboard a few clients with the food and beverage industry, at that point, we really wanted to know, we were tracking every step in the journey, but now when we are tracking every step in the journey, how do we really know that this step originated from the manufacturer or the producer? How can we prove the identity? So that's when we ventured into digital ID, decentralized ID, and we ended up building this platform. Again, like I said, we are aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goal, and our primary goal is to bring in social impact using our platforms.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your candor.
Hi, everybody.
Just a little louder, if you can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, louder. Yeah.
That PACME came about because of my experience. So I'm actually a trained architect and construction manager, and I moved from Jamaica to the US a long time ago, about 20 years ago, and I used Yahoo.com to find a job.
Well,
because there was no monster.com and all these fancy things.
a little louder because the virtual judge.
There was no monster.com and all these LinkedIns and all these things at the time. So I used yahoo.com, got a job. I had wonderful immigration processes in the US, to the extent that at one point, a company even waited an entire year to hire me. Because they believed in my abilities. Then the 2008 recession hit and the construction industry collapsed. Your visa is tied to your degree. And so I had to think quickly. So I said, let me just do an international business degree so that I can be more marketable. In doing the international business degree, about 95% of my cohort were not US citizens. And they would all ask me, how did you get a job? How do you get the work permit? How do you work anywhere? And I thought to myself, because this is almost like 8 years later, why is this still so difficult? So I continued on my merry way. After my degree, I decided, I want to move to Spain. Got an internship in Spain, moved to Spain, and then the immigration lawyer was like, even though we have a high labor shortage, we also have a high unemployment rate. And if you go back to your home country to get the visa in your passport, they're not going to give it to you. So you should stay here for 3 years, and then you'll be fine. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not running from anything. I'm going back to Jamaica. So went back to Jamaica, and all this time, everybody's still calling and asking me questions about, how do you find a job somewhere else and not teach English after you have a degree? So I started to look into it. And as I was doing that, I got a job with a startup in Jamaica. In that job, I realized how much my knowledge and experience outside of Jamaica was helpful not only to the company, but to the individuals in the company and the growth of communities. And so I said, no, this needs to be much easier. So I started to research, and I literally became obsessed with high-skilled immigration because I didn't realize how much it impacts economic development across the world, how much we have been doing this since the age from Jesus was a baby, and how much it has so much impact, you know? But it's just not done properly. Even at the Fortune 500 level, it's just difficult. Everybody complains. And so I said, I'm going to solve it. And here we are.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So just for fun, the judges had a complex Excel sheet that they had to score, and they all fired their scores very quickly, one after the other. So now I wanted to ask the audience to raise their hand. First of all, maybe for some of the audience members that missed your name and your company, if you can just state your full name one more time and the name of your company so that they can hear it. So,
My name is Melissa Powell, and I'm the founder of PacMe Inc.
Hi, my name is Malini Srinivasan. I'm the founder of Flinder Inc.
Thank you. Okay, now just for fun, the audience here in the room, who do you think is the winner? Let's say Malini, raise your hand, just so that everybody knows who's Malini, because you're M&M, so the M&Ms. So Malini, who in the audience thinks that Malini is the winner? Raise your hand, just for fun. Okay, and then who do you think, who in the audience thinks that Melissa is the winner? Okay. Very good. Well, you're opposite than the judges, but nevertheless. Okay, Malini, you won, and Melissa, runner-up. Both of you, congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you again to all of you for the patience and the passion that you all showed. We appreciate all of you participating and also our audience for being here. What will happen is every single startup that participated will have a feedback session with me like we had last year. And then some of you actually last year had the opportunity to follow up with some of the judges. I will facilitate that introduction if you are willing. We still have some questions from the judges, which can be huge advice for you to advance your company. So I strongly recommend answering those questions that I'll share with you. And then also on the winner side, you'll have the chance to, both of you will earn 4 coaching sessions with me to prepare you for the global startup stage if you ever want to go. And Malini, you got a full covered ticket to attend the global startup stage in Turkey, where we have more than 3,000 investors show up, and you'll be able to participate there. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jovan, yes, one question. Okay, wonderful. Already she got her first customer. That's awesome. Thank you again for the opportunity to organize the Innovation Showcase. Thank you, Gerard, for making it happen. As you can see, we had top quality startups. Again, thanks for the judges for taking the time and volunteering to share their wisdom with us, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much for those of you that are up at a very, very late time in Britain, India. I know, Brad, you're from the West Coast, but you're currently in Europe, so we thank all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.